Alrighty, so I know, very original content. I'm on Reddit of all things. Wow, classic YouTuber move. But I did see this interesting post from SakeTube, and I thought it was kind of interesting because I was literally just talking about this a little bit in the leaks for the new Merlin and Liz Hawk, which I thought were kind of interesting. Obviously, it doesn't justify the Merlin, but in that video I was basically talking about how I thought it was interesting that both of those characters were going to be getting a new variant because, or a new character, I guess, unit, because those two units already have more than, or like they already have 3 units. So I didn't really know what I guess color attribute they were going to be, but going by what this guy is kind of, setting up here, I guess he's taking into account that the character either starts off as an SR or an SSR, and I guess I really didn't look at the fact that the Liz Hawks that we have, the red and green one, are both SR rarity characters, and then the only SSR one that we have is blue Liz Hawk, which I think is pretty interesting. So the new one that comes out, the new summer Liz Hawk that has been sort of leaked, could potentially either be red or green. But then again, like I said, for Merlin specifically, there's already an SSR Merlin of each, attribute. So I don't really know. I guess they're just going to end up making more duplicate characters of people, even if they already have, whatever it may be. But I thought this was pretty interesting because he says units you probably forgot that still doesn't have a third version. And it's kind of funny to see that this green counter melee has been like the MVP of like the early game for a lot of players, like as far as like players who started day one and stuff like that. Everybody was like, oh, re-roll your account for green counter melee because he's so good. And then the only other Captain Meliodas that we have that uses the same cosmetics are the red Halloween Meliodas, which is pretty interesting. And of course the SR Meliodas that you start with at the very beginning of the game does share the costumes and stuff like that as well. But it is kind of interesting that we don't have another like a blue base melee. So I think that's kind of cool. I think that would open up some decently interesting potential there, because I mean there's tons of times in the show, even in some of the newer seasons, when he's not like in assault mode form or anything like that, especially like in the last couple of episodes of the show. He is definitely like base melee, just like doing his thing. I don't know if he really uses a whole lot of attacks or anything like that they could base like a kit off of, but a new blue melee would be kind of interesting. I really want them to make I don't really know what you would even consider it, like the Berserk melee from season 1, where he finally shows off some of his like demon form, but he's not in control of it at all. Like he's just got the one arm sort of like demoned out, and he's just like flying around, like basically attacking anything and everything. I know that they have it modeled, and you can go up against it in some of the reverse stages and stuff like that. I think that melee is really, really cool, and I would love to see that melee be like a character that you could summon for at some point, because I would love to use that melee. He'd be awesome. But the next one is just the regular Bond, the one without nunchucks, because there already are enough nunchuck bonds in the game. There's legitimately, I think there is a nunchuck bond for each of the variants already. So a new bond without a weapon, which I mean the new Purgatory Bond doesn't have a weapon, but I would think he would be considered his own entity, because like obviously Lost Vein Meliodas is his own thing. Once the new blue Lost Vein comes out, there will need to be a green Lost Vein at some point potentially. But Purgatory Bond is his own sort of variant. Assault Mode Meliodas is his own sort of variant. Demon Meliodas is his own sort of variant. So I guess it does fall in line with the whole thing, which is pretty interesting. We do need a blue Eskenor that is not the one. I would love to see them add like scrawny Eskenor, but that wouldn't really fill this criteria here. I think that would be considered a different variant of the character. But yeah, I think that we, even the final boss Eskenor had some skills and stuff like that they had already modeled and animated and stuff like that. And they I mean, could potentially just release a new Eskenor at any time, basically. I'm sure there's enough like outfits and stuff like that, because even in I think it was season 4 or season 5, whatever you consider it to be, I think all of the Sins ended up getting some like new costumes and stuff like that that would be perfect for adding like a new variant or like a new unit for like this like baseline Eskenor. So they could potentially just give him a, like the whatever outfit it was from season 4 or 5, and then, you know, just give him some of those final boss moves that we don't have. If I'm not mistaken, one of them was like a buff card, which was kind of cool, and then the other one is like the one where he jumps up and like slams the axe down a whole bunch of times, which was a really, really cool move in my opinion. So if we got like a blue Eskenor that had that, I think that would be really cool. I personally am not very interested in getting new Ellie Hawks, but she's kind of an interesting unit. This blue Ellie Hawk in general is actually kind of interesting with the solidify stuff. You could really like make a good amplify team around solidify if they put any sort of debuffs on you and stuff like that. So I think that is a really interesting unit in general, but as long as they make the other, like the red and green SSR Ellie Hawks, interesting and fun to use, I wouldn't have a problem with that. It probably wouldn't be something that I would inherently want to summon for unless it was just like a really good unit, but yeah, I don't know, just not a big fan of Ellie Hawk, to be honest. Last but not, or well, this isn't even the last one, but Gila doesn't have a blue variant. There is a blue SR Gila, of course. I don't know if they're necessarily all that concerned with making a lot of these like really like, I don't know, side characters sort of units, extra support, I guess, but it would be kind of cool to see a blue Gila. I do like Gila a lot. I think she's a really cool character. I like her and Jericho's dynamic and stuff like that in the show, so I wouldn't mind a new blue Gila, to be honest. I like this green Gila quite a bit, actually. I think she's a really cool character. I like a lot of her animations and stuff like that. The red Gila really doesn't get a whole lot of like playtime. I feel like there's certain like very niche game modes and stuff like that can take like use of her, but the blue SR Gila was surprisingly very good in like the very, very early game, whenever the game first came out to global and everything like that, back when I was just first starting. Blue Gila was one of the like main characters that you would put on your book farming team, because she could like rush her ultimate pretty quickly and just like burst down the enemy and stuff like that, which I thought was kind of cool. So that was one of those like obscure units that you could kind of use for like a farming team. So it would kind of be cool to see a new blue Gila. And then last but not least is Red Lilia, which we obviously have an Awakened Lilia, but that would be considered to be a different variant. She doesn't share any of the same cosmetics or anything like that, so I don't really know. I feel like the big thing with these like OC characters is I feel like they're going to take sort of like a back line, the 7 Catastrophes at least, because with the Ragnarok stuff coming out, I feel like they're really going to be trying to push the Ragnarok stuff with the new Ragnarok characters. Obviously, it is a huge, like, exciting new storyline that they've come up with, everything like that, but I kind of like the 7 Catastrophes. I feel like there would have been a lot like cooler stuff that they could have done with it, and like just some like cool original story stuff. Like if they made like an original storyline, kind of like the side story for the movie that they have already in the game, where you get Elot and Bellion and stuff like that. You can go through that whole like movie as like a side story in the game. If they did like a whole side story just based on like the 7 Catastrophes and stuff like that, and went over some of the like the background of the characters and lore and stuff like that, which I know they do somewhat do that within like the original character like events and stuff like that. Like every once in a while, like the summer events and stuff like that will have story related to the 7 Catastrophes and such. But I don't know, I feel like they could have like fleshed that out a whole lot more. But as big as Blue Lilia was in the meta, and she's still pretty helpful in certain events and stuff like that, I feel like a Red Lilia would be pretty cool. And with the spot that the game is in at the moment, any of these characters that they added would need to be like on a pretty decent level or else they're obviously just going to get phased out of the meta. I don't think Eskenor would have too much of a problem being pretty decently meta relevant as long as they gave him a somewhat decent passive. Human team is obviously very, very good at the moment, so there's a lot of human support. So I think he would excel pretty good. A new Bond would probably do pretty decently, as long as it's not like, I don't know, I guess like, as long as he's not like, he would need to almost be better than Purgatory Bond for people to run him instead, because obviously you can only have one of each character on the team. But I don't know, that would be really interesting to see. There's obviously a pretty decent amount of demon support, but I feel like it's mainly for the assault mode melee team. But you could potentially run like a new melee or something like that with like Chandler and maybe Festival Zeldris and stuff like that without having assault mode. I don't know. It would be kind of interesting to see a lot of these characters get like pushed into the meta, especially like what they could make the character do and stuff like that. And I mean, the show is over at this point, if you aren't aware. So there's a lot of like different, spots in the anime where they could maybe pull inspiration from for these missing characters. So I think that would be really cool. I don't know. I just thought this was like a fun video idea. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think some of these characters would really benefit from, or if like you already think that the character would be really cool with like certain skills or whatever the case may be, or if you want to make a passive for the character. I would love to hear from you. So feel free to comment down below. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to go over for today. So I will thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe for more content in the future, and I will see you guys in the next video.